Welcome back to part 3 of Detention. In today's part, we've got a new puzzle to solve in the form of this door. We need to get this door open one way or another, and this actually ends Act 2. Yeah, Act 2's ending is right next to the start, but either way, this is probably my favourite act of the game, because firstly it's across 2 buildings instead of 1. The horror elements in it I feel a lot better handled. The puzzles are more interesting other than work out the lock, even if they're still relatively basic and stuff that you shouldn't have too much trouble working out if you've played these sort of games before. And as you actually start to learn more about what's happened here through this chapter. Oh, they broke the wheels pretty quickly there. Oh. You see that note there? The one in the middle of the table there? Pick it up. It tells you how to deal with the enemies that will be appearing in this act. I already know how to deal with them, so it's not too bad for me that I've missed it, but if you're playing on your first run, you won't know how to deal with them and will be killed by them, so pick it up! And there's also a few other things, like there's a doll room. I think it's this door here, which on my blind run was the only thing that killed me in the entire run. I'm not joking, because I wasn't sure how to deal with it, so I took a guess and just unfortunately guessed wrong. Glass beakers here from the biology lab. They're each holding puppets inside. Okay, the puppet room then, not the doll room. These. When you solve the puzzle of this room, all of these come alive and will kill you if you don't handle it properly. But we need to find a way to take this fire out. That's the little puzzle of this room. So we'll be returning to it shortly. Always thought of it as closer to dealing with the devil. Oof. Like I said, this is my favourite act, and probably the longest as well, as you'll probably be able to tell from the video length whenever this is out. I don't think we can go through this door yet. No, that's the other building, that's to the atrium. So let's go down here into the creepy atmospheric basements of this building. Kneeling figure with a wooden token on its back. Can't really tell who it is with a hood on his head. Stocks and shackles, bit of dried blood on the edges. Another kneeling figure, some blood on his hood. Oh, so he's probably been beaten up a bit. This is something we have to come back to later on, because we don't have the item we need for it. He always lights 3 incense sticks. She tells the gods her name and birthplace. She often lays her problems and wishes upon them. But why does she not tell a real person? Why does she turn to an invisible god? Well, there's a bit of Ray's personal philosophy there. We got to shine through there. She doesn't necessarily not believe in God, but she believes that if you've got problems, you should, you know, talk to fucking people instead of praying. Or whatever. What's this? Spirit money. Yeah, we need that for later. Can we open this door at all? Well, no, door is locked. Okay, backtracking then. Oh, okay, neat. So it's this is where all the atmospherical pieces are going to, you know, actually do something, get a bit of payoff. Because look at that. Well, at least this door's open. Oh, there's nothing in it. I think there's another one a little later on that opens as well that we can get something from. Maybe not now, but later on. So if we head back in here now with our incense money. Well, it's burning paper, but it's just weird. I've never done burning paper, praying for that. I know it's not really part of the culture I've grown up in, but I know it's just some people. Otherworldly spirit, I offered the spirit money to ask for your protection. Also, look at this PS1 CG for this going in. I love it. I wish more games would use that classic styled CG. I don't care that it looks old and it's really noticeably like real life footage like slapped on it. It's just, there's just something about it I like. And the Feathered Fan, we're now halfway through to opening the door, and this is what I mean, these are now alive. You have to hold your breath and move. You just have to have faith that you'll make it to the other side before you have to breathe again. If at any point you don't hold your breath, they will take you. But you see, you just barely make it if you hold your breath right at the edge and then move. So what I'm going to do now is immediately put in this half of the puzzle, just so I don't have to worry about it later. Even if it does mean backtracking over here a little bit, because Ray moves so slowly. And I can save while I'm at it when I'm on my way back. So if we put this in... Now we just need something for the other hand, so you can see how the puzzle looks, how it's supposed to work. And there we go, save. You feel blessed. It's always good that you feel blessed for saving at an altar. To be fair, I don't know how deliberate it was, but I did appreciate when I went through this game that you always know when a safe area is approaching because of the red lighting. Like, it's kind of the opposite of what you usually get, where the red lighting is usually danger, whilst in this the red lighting means you're close to a shrine. And something about just having a visual indicator you're close is far better than just saying. Because as much as I absolutely adored Persona 5, they're like, look, it's a safe room nearby, and it's like, yeah, I can tell. And it just started to feel like, you don't need to tell me, I can work it out. Like, I prefer visual audio indicators instead of just telling me blank. I know that's just a personal thing for me, but it's just how it is. Alright, the film room. We don't have the ability to change this. We need a new film to put in here, which will give us a solution for a puzzle we haven't even started that's also in this area. There's a lot of puzzles in Act 2. All of them translating to go together to open that big door at the end. And that light always flickers like that, so don't get freaked by it. And I believe we'll have our encounter with a new enemy, which means we should, assuming I haven't already gone past it, we should encounter a note at some point soon. See those lanterns that I stood next to for a second? That's what you have to keep an eye out for. If you see one of them moving, I'll tell you how to deal with it when we get to it. I think I might have missed a note, but whatever. But we need these 3 incenses for the basement. There are 3 unlit incense sticks here. Take them. The gravestone reads Wei's name. Yeah, Wei Shunting. Oh right, Wei, he already... Is the legacy of the deceased always just a mere rock? And writing will appear on the sides here, on the blackboards. Snitcher. Is this about an informer? Patriotism demands of us sustained sacrifice. Yeah, it just says snitcher. And all the faces are laughing by the looks of it. Yep, this is our encounter with these guys, so I missed the note. Okay. The way these guys work, when you're close enough to them, they will start strolling towards you. You have to stand still, face away from them, and hold your breath. Wait for them to come up to you, they will investigate you, and then walk on. If you are either breathing or looking at them, they will take you. Or if you're moving. If you're moving, they will take over. The reason why I went back in there is because I just want to check and see if I can find the note, or whether I have just completely missed it. If I spot it in the backlog footage, I'll make sure to highlight it. But see, these guys will start walking towards you, so you need to get into their path, face away from them, and hold your breath. They will investigate you, and if they don't see you as anything to deal with, they'll continue walking. When their body is past you, you can stop holding your breath and move on, because they don't care anymore. It's not a big precise thing, it doesn't matter. The moment their body's past you, you can start moving again. That locked door, unfortunately, we cannot open just yet. But we will be able to soon. So we walk back over here and put the incense in. God, that was a very chainy truck that just drove past. I don't know if you guys heard that. Ignore the kinds of prayers. I ask the gods only find a way to live as myself. What was that sound? And Ray will face the direction of the sound so you don't go the wrong way. But if you go here, the gate has been opened so you can take the token on the statue's back. Oh, right, yeah, okay. You know when I said earlier that the big door is the end of Act 2? No, I was wrong. That's just the main piece of this puzzle, because Act 2 is 2 buildings. And we haven't even got into the second building yet. Putting this in will allow us to access the other building. I thought that door on the far left was our access into the second building. I'm misremembering. Which is alright. I deliberately wanted to leave this game a little while before I did my let's play of it, so the puzzles are still somewhat fresh. I don't just completely destroy it, sort of thing. And then we get our CG Jankar opening again. I think the reason why I like it so much is just because it's my childhood in a nutshell. Like, not just the games I grew up with, because I grew up with like, the Dreamcast, PS1 and PS2. But it was when I was like, in primary school, when we'd have like a fun day or some shit like that. We'd go on the computer, we'd have all these free CG-ass games on there, and it's just all the stuff it reminds me of, just all that fancy CG shit, like this weird forest game where you had to do a lot of exploring and whatnot, and just there was this other game where it was like a type adventure and just all that stuff, but it was all that kind of janky-ass CG, like a proper CDI game, and I don't know, I just have a soft spot for it. But as we enter the second building, there is a phone here that if you call the Taiwan police line, you'll get a trophy for, which I believe is 110. It's either 110 or 118. Or 811 even. I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a key inside here, the roof key, so you can get access to the roof from the first building. We won't go there just yet, we'll explore the rest of this. But it's worth noting this building's a lot more dank than the other, and this guy will be patrolling up and down it, so just every time you go from one end to the other, just, you know how to deal with it now, just be prepared with his really long annoying tongue. You'll also notice that the enemies from the first act are nowhere to be seen. That's something that I thought was interesting, but fair enough. The enemies all have simple ways of dealing with them, so instead of making them consistent for the whole game, once you've done it a handful of times, they stop making you do it. And metal doors inside. There might be another way around. We do need to get round there. Which I kind of like. So the lingered from the first act we will never see again. They were only in the first act because the game knows we know how to deal with them, so instead of bringing them up time and time again, it just decides to leave them and introduce a new threat for this act. This room is the only puzzle I got kinda stuck on really on my first run, but it wasn't because I didn't know how to solve it. I did know how to solve it. I'm just don't have a keen ear for piano beats, because you have to memorize a sequence of piano pieces, like this sort of thing. You have to memorize all the keys in order and then play them, and I'm not that good at memorizing sounds like that and then repeating it one to one. I made a lot of mistakes and had to listen to it quite a few times, like going back and listening to it and then going back to it and trying again until I eventually got it. Oh wait, light switch. Oh, if that isn't an indicator they're going to turn off the lights at some point, I don't know what is. A broadcasting room. This broadcasting room is where we'll eventually have that piano piece playing when we get to it, so just remember that for later on. The table with some broadcasting equipment. The speaker seems to be imitating a sound. You can always hear whispering. So this, a large 8-track player. It's usually used for school broadcasts. The power's connected, I just need to stick an 8-track tape in. And on the left wall you can see faces on it as well. There are leaves all over the room. Moss grows from door to the window. But you've seen that quite a bit, like the odd thing where it's like a zoom in of a face. I'm curious to know how many of those faces are actually animated in the game and how many of them are just like developers or something like that they just translated their face onto it or something, like took a picture and just used it. Out here, the door to the right takes us back to the first building where we can use that roof key, but there's also a passageway out in the open down this way that you need to remember as well, because this is actually very important. There's 2 puppets we need to get a hold of to put on each of the hands here to create a scene that we need to know of. Pair of mannequin hands to set up for puppet play. We don't have either of the puppets, so we can't do anything with that. And I believe moving on doesn't give us anything of too much worth other than maybe a note. Yeah, I think there's a note in this tree. Oh, it's the 8-track tape, so it is important to carry on going left. Okay, so we've got something for the 8-track player later on. Which means I've got to make the decision. Do I go to the roof now, or do I go back to the recording now? I'll decide in a moment. But that puppet show there, you need to remember that's there as well, because that's going to be important for getting through this puzzle. Right, am I feeling 8-track or roof? I'll go roof. There we go. Only reason I decided on the roof key is because I know I'd forget about it otherwise. Do you see this shadow of someone running off? Dun dun dun. For me it's kind of dark as usual, so I don't know how it'll come through on YouTube, but oh, well, they just jumped to their death. And we get a bloodstained film, so we've got the film as well that we need for the other piece of the puzzle. Like, I've mentioned it before in other stuff, whether it was DMC2, well, mostly DMC2, and like odd snippets of Final Fantasy, that when it comes to rendering the videos, and sometimes even recording them, it can come off quite dark. And when it goes through on YouTube, when I've glanced through them, it's been better with visibility, so it's been alright, thankfully. Like, Final Fantasy struggles worse, because Final Fantasy I do all post, which means I'm stuck on a much worse resolution, because I've got a little like preview screen that I'm working off as I'm editing everything together and doing all the post recording, etc, etc. Well, stuff like this is live because I prefer to play it live. The only reason I haven't done Final Fantasy 15 live is because of just the scale of the game. I knew if I tried to do it live it would just result in more fuck ups and more issues and dragging it out. I'd rather do it in post and get it done. It's what I originally did with Bloodborne many moons ago. Because there's of all the Let's Plays, there's 3 of them that I've done have been post. Bloodborne, most of Uncharted 2, and FF15. By the way, we've got a sequence here. Remember the sequence of numbers. It's 025 121. 025 121. Remember that. Anyway, back on the point. But Bloodborne, I did it because it was a similar deal. I didn't want a live playthrough of me just fucking up a bunch where I'm trying to talk and concentrate. And so I thought, I'll just do it in post so I can shut up and concentrate on the game and talk over it afterwards when I get the run I want. Which is what I did. And I think I only died like 3 times in the entire game. No, that's not true. I died 3 times up until the Winter Lanterns. The Winter Lanterns, like in the final Nightmare area in the main game. That name slips my mind. Nightmare of Mensis, I think it was called. Those fuckers killed me so many times trying to get that blood rock because they're assholes. But either way, and then Uncharted 2. Well, people have been on with this channel for a while know the story of Uncharted 2, where I just had really bad burnout, was in a really dark place mentally, and just was not fit for recording really at all. And then all my recording fucked up, so I lost all the audio, so I had to manually put in all the audio again, so it became all post after like part 2. Which is why it took forever, because I was just not in the mood for it. I was not in the happiest state of mind, because without going into details, college was not fun for me really at all. It had its moments, don't get me wrong, but I had a lot of nasty shit as well that left me very bitter. And it's just, I wasn't in the right headspace for it, but now I've got it behind me. I know, you turn the light on. There we go. Ooh, creepy hand. And it's just one of these guys again. So just hold your breath, wait for him to go. Problem is, we need to go left, so you gotta wait for him to pass, and then just kind of tail him until he vanishes, because they will like disappear after a while once they've gone past you. And then obviously third is Final Fantasy 15, just because of the sheer scale of the game. I want to make sure there's some kind of consistency. Part 8 is still happening. Don't worry, it is working. It's going to be a bit shorter of a part than usual, because there's not as much I want to cover now before I move on with the plot again. Like, I did most of it last part. I did the important piece I wanted to do last part. So now it's a lot more of the miscellaneous stuff. And then once I get that done, the part afterwards, so part 9, I'll probably move on with the plot, unless I think of anything else. If you want to, you can listen to all these tracks and get different audio pieces and works out. But what's important is track 4, because it plays this piano piece that I'll let you guys listen to, so you know what you need to memorize. Yeah, I know what it is now from memory of the last playthrough, but on your first run, don't be surprised if you get yourself stuck on this, unless you're used to playing on piano. If you're used to playing on piano, it might come natural to you. I don't know, but I'm not a piano player, and so this really didn't come natural to me on my first run. But if you just click on it, and it's this pattern. There you go. It doesn't matter if you're a bit slow on it, and if you're playing the PC version, you'll probably do it a hell of a lot quicker than I just did, but because it's the console version, you have to just make do with that. And the cage door is open, and there's the first puppet, so let's take it. The hand will do its weird creepy shit, and we've got 1 or 2. Detached twisted hand, fingerprints completely rubbed off. Now the number 025121, that's for the phone that was at the start of the building on the far right of the second building. So if we just head over here and keep on heading, we'll find it. And since we're halfway through the puzzle, these eyes will now appear behind here to highlight that you're getting close to finding a way here. Because once we get rid of both the puppets and put them in place, we'll find a way to get beyond that iron gate. But I think it's this room, it's not the next one. Yeah, it is this one. If you go to the phone and put it in... Oh, you have to pick up the receiver first. Okay, my bad. Thanks, game. 0 2 5 1 2 1, and the phone will call. Miss Fang, your country appreciates your assistance. What's left is only the dial tone. Now hide. Well, no, she does this automatically, to be fair. I just started moving to the right by myself, but she then realised to take over. This guy from the end of the first act will start wobbling around and try and get in, but he's a bit big, so he's not going to get through that door. So just give it time, and he will fuck off. And here's the weird thing. That's the last time you see that guy. I'm not joking. I thought that was really bizarre when I first played this, because I thought, oh, that's going to be like a consistent antagonist that's going to come back, but that's the last time you see him. Or it, her, whatever. And we get our second puppet, the police puppet. What that phone call, without spoiling, because we'll learn more, what that phone call was implying is that at some point Ray gave information to higher ups, whether it was police or otherwise, also further implied by the police doll being outside, and giving information that relates to the martial law this game's theming is focused around. So someone intruded the law, Ray found out about it and reported it instead of being hush about it. Because, you know, who reports information that should be free, yeah? Arseholes, that's what they do. But I'm joking. She has her reasoning and whatnot, but we'll get to that later on. But that's the implication it gives off. And I like plots that do implication over telling you straight. This game does it a lot. The only reason I'm telling you straight is because I'm explaining how I perceived it. I might not be 100% right on it. I might be wrong on it. It's just how I perceived it, how I theorize it. It's not like fucking Dark Souls, where you could make a theorize about how things work and things like that, but you could easily be very wrong. It's kind of just how it is. But if you put the puppets on, you kind of get the implication of what happened because of Ray reporting it. Because what I think it implies anyway is that it got reported, the policeman did what they had to do, which is kill the person who led it, but somewhere along the line the children that were a part of it were caught in the crossfire, maybe not literally but theoretically, which is why the bullet goes through the head first before it hits the target it's supposed to. And we've already got the implication from the prologue that our teacher was involved in some shady shit, which is why she was called out and said, do you recognise these papers? So she was probably the one that was shot. She was probably the one that was shot then, but because of it, all the children that she was teaching through that secret system that we don't know how really yet, through that system, were caught in the crossfire almost. They would hunt themselves hunted, or were unfairly accused, or something along those lines. Anyway, the key opens this door. It's a little out of the way, but this is a door you need to take it to all the way over here, which will take us to the other side of the metal bars when we come out the other side. I'm trying to think if there's anything in this corridor where it's just a long corridor. Oh, I remember this. We're about to get information of what I was just talking about, where the meetings of such were taking place. Wei, thanks for doing this for me. Not at all. I'm always willing to help if you ask. Though, I'm sorry to have to drag you all the way here to my classroom. It's okay. My classroom has individual studies now. It would be a bother if we were there. You're absolutely sure nobody else knows about these meetings, right? Of course, miss. Absolutely not. One thing, though. This book list is quite sensitive in material. Please be careful with it. Yes, thanks for the reminder. I know reading these books could be trouble. But it should be our freedom to pursue knowledge, right? Yeah, I'm with you on that. In fact, I think Miss Yin also said something like that before. I think you're just like her. You're both courageous and talented. You think we're alike? I can't compare to her anyways. She's the principal's daughter, and they're known to be a family of successful scholars. It's okay. I believe she thinks highly of you. I remember she gave your work a nice compliment once. She said, "Strengthen thy wings, the sky's the limit." She really said something like that? Hey, let me ask you a question. I see Miss Yin and Mr. Chang chat a lot. Do you maybe know what kind of relationship they have? And that's all we get. So the implication I got from that is that Miss Yin is the one that started spreading the information through meetings of some kind. It's a paper bag left behind my way. Book reading. Maybe it was through a book club that they did it. If it was an after-school book club, it would have been easier for them to get away with that sort of stuff. That's how I take the implication anyway. And additionally, Ray starts asking about Mr. Cheng as well. We'll learn more about him in Act 3. But for now, as this soft piano piece starts playing, we wrap up Act 2. Miss Yin? What are you doing over here? As a teacher, I always show concern for students who are a little rebellious. Remember what you did? What? Have you forgotten, or do you not want to remember? You... Just a harmless piece of paper, right? Instead, I had to die, he had to die, and many other students had to die. Was it you? You keep causing me trouble. You're driving me crazy. Sometimes when you trip up, you're never able to get up again. How dare you? This is all because of you. You ruined everything. If you had a problem, why couldn't you have come talk to me instead? Shut up. If you were gone, none of this would have happened. And that, I think, supports quite heavily my theory. Miss Yin led a book club who had students in there that was probably after school so they could get away with it. She gave the students information that was against the martial law that the governments were trying to control. They tried to invite Ray in. Probably Wei tried to invite Ray in. At some point, Ray didn't like what she got, reported it, which is why we got the phone call saying, "Miss Fang, the country supports you, yada yada yada." The country, like, forces the police and whatnot, tracked Miss Yin down, killed her, but then probably killed everyone that was also in the book club as well, with the exception being obviously Ray. which is why they got caught in the crossfire and it was the police shooting in the puppet show. So Ray's got some heavy guilt on her mind that she's either choosing to ignore or just can't remember. My hands together in silent prayer, here are my questions. I, Fang Ray Shin, invoke your guidance. Will I be able to live a simple life with loved ones and family? Yin Po, the crying answer. Do not seek what cannot be. Ah, this was just a humble request. You can be so cruel. Then I also ask, will I be able to live life by my choices and follow my heart down my own path? Yang Po, the laughing answer, so I can only face reality obediently and wait until God knows when. Do I have no other choice? I also ask, will my parents who quarrel and fight have a second chance together? Yang Po, the laughing answer, you cannot cry over spilt milk, is that so? But that was my family, my mum and that person. We used to smile and laugh together. Do I ask for too much? Is life just a never-ending bitterness, or is it all just me? Divine answer. So, it is because of me. Youth is hardly ever given a choice, pushed through the grind until their innocence fades away. I've become a wooden horse on the carousel of life, a jumbled mess of lifeless emotion. Infused with frantic energy, I spin ever faster. The only last piece of thing you can really take from all that is that earlier on we saw someone jump off a roof. That, I believe, was Ray taking her own life, which is why she has no memory of all this horror stuff's happening, that she probably took out of guilt after all the people died because of her actions. But on that lovely note, next time on Detention, we're going to now explore Ray's personal life back at home with her parents, and what confrontations took her at home as well that really didn't help her case in living a happy life. But until then, you guys take care now.